Welcome into this week's episode of Codcast. I'm your host, Emma Carman. We are so excited to welcome Matt Hyde on for today's episode. Matt is a New York Yankees Northeast area scout and was named to the list of the 50 most influential people back in 2019. Matt, thanks so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Doing great, Emma, and it's so good to have Cape Cod League baseball back in action.
I agree. So as I mentioned, scout for the Yankees. When did this passion, first begin for you?
Began at a young age, and I was fortunate growing up to have spent a lot of time around the Cape Cod League. I was in the baseball clinics as a young kid, and we moved to Chatham when I was 10 years old from Connecticut. We had summered in Chatham, but we moved there full time when I was 10, and I ended up becoming the bat boy for the Chatham A's at the time. And then when I got into high school, I became a bullpen catcher for the Orleans Cardinals. At the time, they were called the Cardinals. And then when I got to the end of my college career at Michigan, I ended up coaching with Chatham and coached with Brewster. So it kind of started at a young age, and it was just part of my every summer. And I got to be honest with you, probably my least favorite day of every year was the last day of the Cape League season, win or lose. It just was so depressing for me that the season would be over. That's how much I loved it, but I was very lucky to be immersed in it from an early age.
So obviously within the league for years, when it comes to you scouting, what does a normal kind of day in the life of Matt Hyde look like?
Well, it's a lot of driving, which is what we do. But it's getting to the fields early, watching batting practice, talking to the coaches, getting an idea before I even head to the ballpark of what the pitching rotations are looking like and, what might be the best matchups for me to see. And also when we have other scouts in town, where are good places for them to go, where they can see a lot of good guys. And then getting there and watching these guys hit and then obviously getting into the game action. It's important to get there early because seating behind home plate at some of these places is a little tight. It's all part of the charm of, middle school fields and high school fields. But that's what we do. And I think the great thing is being able to sometimes double up and see, the start of one game and then move to another game and be able to sometimes see four teams in one day, or maybe you can even see that third game and catch six teams in one day, which is really kind of cool.
So with being in the league for years, what are some of your favorite memories, whether it was back with Orleans or now scouting, that just have stuck with you forever?
Oh my goodness. I have it's the people, it's the people and the characters. And I think that when you get kids from around the country, who have different backgrounds, who may have not crossed paths before, it's just such a cool environment. And for me as a young kid growing up, sometimes we'd have a player stay with us from the University of Texas and or Vanderbilt, back before Vanderbilt was Vanderbilt. And just being exposed to people from different areas was just so cool. And I think it brought out great stories. Like I remember a kid getting homesick, and he was just so homesick being away, and his brother was a big leaguer, but it was his first time away from home, and he was in our living room crying like a baby about how homesick he was, or a kid trying lobster for the first time and watching them try to eat a lobster. And I'll never forget, we had a player stay with us one year from the University of Miami. And the first thing he wanted to do when he got into Chatham was go see the baseball stadium. He thought it was going to be this big stadium. And so we drove over the field and said, "Hey, this is it." He's like, "No, you're kidding me. Where is the stadium?"
Right here.
Where you play. So I think those types of things are pretty cool. And back in the day, Emma, guys had to work a job during the day. It's become a little less prevalent now, but back when I first started with the Cape League, there would be players that worked at the hardware store. There would be players that worked at the so those stories were even funnier because John Schiffner coached the Chatham A's for 25 years, and he played in the league in the 70s. And he used to talk about one of his jobs, which was at the docks in Harwich. He had the night shift watching the docks and watching the boats.
Oh,
and one night he fell asleep and somebody stole a boat.
no.
His watch.
Oh my gosh, you can't make it up.
Oh yeah, you can't make it up. So those are some of the stories, and but it's always just so cool to see what these players learn from their experience in the Cape.
And there's 10 teams within. Obviously, there's players coming and going now with the whole draft being mid-July. There's a lot of players within rotation. But from your scout perspective, what kind of makes these players stand out compared to others? Just because there's so many kids down here, obviously an honor for them to come down. But what makes someone stand out?
Well, what we do is we try to look for tools first, which is, run, throw, field, hit for power, defend. We love arm strength from pitchers. We love feel for a curveball, a changeup, ability to pitch and get swings and misses and weak contact. So we're looking for all those good stuff. But we're also looking at how they perform, how they're able to use their abilities. Do their abilities translate into performance? So do they have enough baseball skills to make things happen? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the great thing about the Cape. And it's why being down here and seeing them play basically every day, you get a really good feel of who they are. I just remember watching this kid one summer. He was a freshman from Florida State, mm-hmm. and he was playing shortstop. And just every day you'd watch him, and he just was very steady, very consistent. And the next year he came back, and he wasn't a shortstop anymore. He was a catcher.
Wow.
And it was Buster Posey.
Oh my gosh.
He was the first guy that really turned down Team USA because he wanted to play in the Cape all summer and play every day. And it really showed me something about him. And he was the type of guy that, as a scout, you really benefited from watching every day to truly appreciate what he could do. So I think kind of a long-winded answer there for you, Emma, but we try to see these tools. Mm-hmm. We want to see them perform, and we want to see the consistency over the course of, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, however long the summer looks last.
Mm-hmm. When we were chatting the other day, you kind of mentioned that the game has changed just a lot from when you first started. Obviously, the league's been around a while, but what are some of the biggest adjustments that you've had to make as a scout these past few years? I know COVID was crazy. The league didn't play for a summer. So what kind of adjustments did you guys have to make on your end of things?
Well, I think we had to be a little more creative in providing opportunities to watch players do their thing. Mm-hmm. Certainly we took a kid last year out of Dartmouth named Ben Rice, and Ben had missed an entire Ivy League season. And, he spent all of 2021 really working out at this New England baseball complex. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up playing for Cotuit. Before he played for Cotuit, he played in a men's league called the Cranberry League with a bunch of guys who were in their 30s and done with baseball, had families and jobs, and loved to play whenever they could play. And there's Ben Rice in the middle of it. So that sort of thing has made us, much more creative in how we scout these guys, where we watch them, what we do. We've been able to do more workout type things over the course of time, but I really feel that it's made us kind of do more in a good way to evaluate players. And as much as it's so different for all of us to have the draft pushed back into July, it does provide us more of an opportunity to scout players right up to the draft. And, last night I was watching Cotuit, and it's just so cool to see a kid like Cam Collier and Ryan Ritter and some of the other guys they have there on Cotuit who are draft eligible, and they're playing every day leading up to this thing. And it's such a great opportunity for us to really make that full evaluation and see what they can really be as players. So I think it's benefited us a lot.
Yeah. And so with the Yankees, I know that you're very heavily involved with the Kelly Rodman Foundation. For those that are listening or watching who don't know the purpose of the foundation, it's to honor the spirit, passion, and love that Kelly Rodman had for the game. A former Yankees scout, she encouraged tons of people within not only the Yankees, but within MLB. So what exactly is your role with this foundation and what you're doing for them?
Well, Jen Mead heads it up, and Jen is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
She has done a phenomenal job of maintaining the legacy of Kel and keeping people aware, and also being able to do some really neat things with the foundation
Mm-hmm.
to help others. And Kelly was a really dynamic human being, and she had a great passion for baseball. And she was such an influential part of our scouting department, Department 27, we call it, with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And she was such a presence in Northeast baseball. When she passed away, we certainly wanted to do some things to remember her. And one thing we did kind of right out of the gate was we renamed our annual Yankees Red Sox end of the summer amateur baseball event. We do the Kelly Rodman Memorial Summer Rivalry Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just kind of a start. But what Jen has done recently, which I think is really cool, is she has used some of the money from the foundation to help support the scout liaisons in the Cape Cod League, who for years now have been doing this for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But by giving them a little bit of money, and also giving that money with a sense of, let's remember Kelly and her spirit and her energy. She was a pioneer in a lot of ways, being a woman in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But she also always saw herself as being a scout first, not a female scout, but a scout.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the one who would be there early, cultivating relationships, getting to know the players, getting to know their families. And I think for these scout liaisons to know that that's where this is coming from a person who had that type of spirit,
Mm-hmm.
it's really significant, because they're learning a lot this summer, and they're getting their start in the game just like she did. She started from the bottom and worked her way up to where she became a full-time scout. And she really showed that anything is possible in this game. So it's really cool. It keeps on building.
Mm-hmm.
And Jen's doing a great job of getting it off the ground. But we honor Kelly every day. I keep a coin in my wallet. Be great today. It's from Kel. And I know Damon Oppenheimer, our scouting director, has his coin that he looks at every day. And we always remember her, especially around draft time, because she was such a big part of our Yankee drafts.
Mm-hmm.
But we think of her every day.
That phrase that you mentioned, be great today. I've seen actually a couple players from Quinnipiac or people who are involved with that foundation wear that bracelet. What does that mean to you? And kind of what do you think of that when you think of her?
She always would say, either this guy's a Yankee or this guy's not a Yankee. And it was always so funny because I knew exactly what that meant. It was Kelly's standards. And she had standards for players. And it was this combination of, being good, but also having character and toughness and doing things the right way and being competitive and being a good person. So it was all this stuff rolled into one. And so that be great today. And I mean, she used to send us, I would always talk to Kel before like my meeting to go over all the players, or if we had a big workout we were doing, I always would, connect with her and say, geez, Kelly, I'm a little nervous. And she'd say, come on, put your big boy pants on and go out there and you're going to be great. And she would send that to me. And, it's kind of a reminder of just do your best, do your best every day and hold yourself to a high standard. That's kind of what it makes me think of.
So you mentioned the Summer Rivalry Classic, named after her now. It's a showcase for top high school, top college prospects in New England. How did this first kind of come about and get started?
It's a really cool story. It goes back to in the summer of 2008. We had a player by the name of Michael Yastrzemski on our area code team.
Mhm.
Now, that area code team was a great team. It had Mike Trout, it had Marcus Stroman, it had Steven Matz, Christian Walker. I'm sure I'm going to miss a couple of guys too that played in the big leagues, but those were the main cast of characters.
Mhm.
So Anne Marie Yastrzemski, who's Michael's mom,
Mhm.
after seeing the area code games, that tournament, she really felt like we should do something in New England. There should be something in New England for the Northeast players to do, to put all the better players together and play. And so we did it. And I'll never forget, we had this call with me and Ray Fagnet with the Red Sox and Anne Marie, and we're trying to come up with a name. And Ray came up with the Summer Rivalry Classic. And we've done it at Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium over the years. One year during COVID, we did it at Hartford. It's just a great end of the summer opportunity for the better players to all be on the same field and just have a fun day of baseball. And during COVID in 2020, we did it at Hartford. And we decided, because we had a tough time seeing a lot of the college players because there was no Cape Cod League season,
Mhm.
we invited college players to be part of it. And we have continued that tradition last year, and we'll do it again this year. And I think that makes it really cool to see some of these better college kids be with the high school guys, and
Mhm.
for the high school guys to compete with the college kids. So it continues to grow and evolve. But it's amazing, Emma, since 2006, we've been doing these events, whether it's the East Coast Pro Showcase, the
Mhm.
area code games, or the Summer Rivalry game. And out of those three events, there have been 77 players who've gone on to play in the major leagues,
Oh my goodness.
which is unbelievable.
Mhm.
And it's really cool. And I think what we've done a fantastic job of up here, the entire scouting community, is growing the game
Mhm.
and providing opportunities for the best players to be on the same field together.
Mhm.
And I think that's been the coolest part of what we've been able to do.
When it comes to the game exactly for the Rivalry Classic, how exactly do you guys decide who's in it, who comes up? Is it strictly just the New England kids, or how does that exactly work?
So we go through the summer and we watch the Cape League players, we watch the New England Collegiate League, we
Mhm.
watch the Futures League. We do our tryouts, our area code stuff, our East Coast Pro stuff, and we put together this group of players who seem to be the better guys, and then we put the rosters together. Last year, I think we did it up in Nashua, me and Ray.
Mhm.
Just, okay, here are all the names. Let's pick the two teams. There was a year that I just picked the two teams and I really stacked the Yankees team. Yeah. Ray is still giving me a hard time about it, but I just did it. But we try to work to make it be competitive.
Mhm.
So it's a fairly even playing field. The amazing thing is it always seems to come down to the last inning and like the last at bat.
Of course it does.
It's just funny how it works, but
Mhm.
it's really, really cool. And we also started doing something, Emma,
Mhm.
with the Cape League. And this goes back to when I coached in the league and did all my stuff. The Red Sox used to go around and they would watch the league and they would pick a couple guys off of every team to go up to Fenway Park during the summer and work out.
Mhm.
And it was really cool. But I always thought that they missed some people, you know?
Mhm.
And so when I got into scouting, it was right around that same time, like 2009. Gus Quattlebaum, who was my best friend in high school,
Mhm.
we went to Andover together. He was the assistant scouting director for the Red Sox, and he and Paul Gallup, who's the commissioner, and I got together, and we got together with Ray Fagnet too. And we said, hey, can we do a workout day at Fenway Park for all 10 teams? So everybody gets a chance to go into Fenway and we get to see everybody in one day. And so we started kicking around how we would make that work. And so we got it off the ground. And I think it's really become an awesome day that makes the Cape Cod League different. I know it certainly helped us a lot in the scouting of a number of players, including Aaron Judge. To see him in a major league stadium was a big deal. But at the end of that, Emma, what we started to do over the years is we put together a group of high school players from the Northeast to play against Orleans. And we're going to do that again this summer on July 11th, which will be great. But it's just another one of those deals kind of tying in with the summer rivalry that we've been able to do just to get more of a scouting opportunity to see players. And I think it's been really, really productive.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the players about they've never seen Fenway one, or they've never even stepped foot in the area of Boston. So I think not only is it an amazing experience for them to get in, but also just see the stadium, actually walk through right field and play where they see major leaguers play every single day. So it's a great addition. July 11th for those listening.
It's the best.
It is.
Always a highlight. It's always a great day.
So before we wrap up this episode, any last stories or advice that you want to share with anyone listening or viewing from a scouting perspective, from the Cape League, anything like that?
You know, I think, Emma, that the beauty of this league is that these players are thrown into it from all different backgrounds, and they come up here. They're all really, really good players. And now they have to really prove themselves. And some of them struggle for the first time. They hit failure for the first time. And some of them don't know how to deal with that failure. And these young men have a lot of things that pull at them. There's college coaches who tell them, hey, you know, you've done enough. You need to shut it down. There's agents who tell them, hey, you've done enough to increase your stock as a player, shut it down. There may be girlfriends who tell them, hey, you've been away all summer. I haven't seen you. You need to get home. You know, we're going to the lake house, or we're going here or there. You know, what are you doing up there? So there's all these little things that pull at these players. And what I've seen, Emma, over time is the guys who end up playing in the major leagues, and not just playing in the major leagues, but being impactful major leaguers, are the players who stay to the end, who compete all the way through to the end. And they may not have the best stats, but they don't quit. And they, you know, I'm just thinking so many great stories of guys who may have gotten hurt at one point in the summer and then come back to finish the season. Jamie Shevchik has had a number of those guys at Brewster. And I think it's just a really cool part of this whole thing that that we can really learn from as scouts. Because again, it's the best of the best. They're all here every day. And for me, the one thing that I try to get out of it is seeing who stays to the end and who finishes. And I think that's probably one of the best parts of the summer is watching how that all unfolds and how guys respond to failure. So there you go.
It's 3 months, but it's the fastest 3 months too.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. So one last thing, this is the fun part of the podcast. So I'm going to ask 5 questions and you have to give the first answer that comes to your mind. So the first one I have to ask is, where is your favorite spot on the Cape? It can be restaurant, ballpark, beach, anything.
Oh, Old Silver Beach in Falmouth.
Falmouth, represent. All right. Question 2. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, I'd love to be able to fly. It would cut down on the driving.
No more traffic in the Cape. That's great. Okay. Third one. What is one thing that people don't know about you, or like a small group?
Oh, I'd say I write a ton of handwritten letters.
Handwritten letters. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's a lost art. Yeah.
All right. Question 4. If you could spend an afternoon with any athlete in history, who would it be?
Ted Williams.
Ted Williams. All right. 5th one. What was your baseball superstition or ritual that either you had growing up or you have now as a scout that you have to follow?
Get there early.
Get there early. Be prepared.
I got to tell you, I get twitchy. I get nervous. If I don't get there early, it just actually, in a great story, Emma, I know this is the lightning round, but
no, you're good.
When I was a bat boy for Chatham, I wanted to be the first one there every day. And so I'd have my mom drive me over to Veterans Field in Chatham every day, or my dad, to get there and be the first one. And I could never beat this other guy to the ballpark. It was one of our players, was our third baseman. And he was from the University of Hartford. And he was there every day, the first one. And it was the first time I was exposed to someone who loved the game just as much or more than I did and wanted to be there. And sure enough, that guy ended up being drafted by the Red Sox. He got traded to the Houston Astros. And a couple of years ago, he went into the Hall of Fame, and that's Jeff Bagwell.
Oh my goodness. You never beat Jeff.
So, there we go. So anyway, long-winded answer to
no, I love that.
My superstition.
No, that's great. Love it. Be there early, be prepared. Well, that's it for today, Matt. I appreciate your time. We thank you so much for coming on today, and we wish you the best of luck with everything.
All right, Emma, thanks so much. This was great. Have a great summer.
Much. You too. This is Emma Carman signing off from Cape League Codcast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast as well as follow us on social media at official CCBL on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for all watching and have a wonderful week.